The glass shattered before anyone could breathe. I said, "Get out." Victor's voice thundered across the marble kitchen, his hand still clenched from a throw. The crystal cup exploded against the wall, spraying glittering fragments across the floor. Every worker froze. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the head chef lowered his eyes. The new maid bent down immediately. No hesitation. No fear. Just quiet movement as she reached for the broken pieces with her bare hands. "Don't touch that," Victor snapped. "Use gloves." "Do you people never listen?" She looked up softly. "I'll be careful, sir." He strode forward, anger still burning hot in his chest. Careful is not the same as competent. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I'll fix it." "You can't fix broken glass," he said. "That's the point." He reached down to pull her back before she cut herself, and that was when he saw it. The ring. Old, thin, dull silver, scratched by years. Too small to be fashionable, too worn to be decorative. His fingers closed around her wrist without thinking. She flinched. "Sir." His voice disappeared. The kitchen felt like it had been vacuumed of sound. His thumb brushed the ring. His breathing stopped. His eyes locked on it like it was alive. "Where?" he whispered. "Did you get this?" The maid tried to pull her hand back. He held it tighter, not painfully but desperately. "It's mine," she said. "I've always had it." "That's not possible." She frowned. "Sir." His staff exchanged looks. This was the same man who once fired a manager for misaligning a table setting by 2 centimeters. Now he stood frozen, holding a maid's hand, staring at cheap metal like it was a crown jewel. "Answer me," he said, voice rough now. "Who gave it to you?" Her eyes searched his face. Something shifted in her expression, caution, maybe embarrassment. "A boy," she said softly. "A long time ago." His grip loosened instantly. He stepped back like he'd been burned. The room tilted. A courtyard. Rainwater in cracked concrete. 2 hungry children sitting behind a storage shed. A broken coin ring pushed onto a girl's finger. "I don't have money," the boy had said. "But when I grow up, I'll come back rich. I'll marry you. Don't lose this." The present slammed back into him. "Sir," the head chef asked carefully, "should we continue service?" Victor turned away abruptly. Everyone out. They scattered. The maid stood slowly. "Did I do something wrong?" He couldn't look at her yet. "What's your name?" he asked. "Amara." His chest tightened. Full name, Amara Cole. The air left his lungs in a silent punch. "Go," he said quietly. "Finish your shift." She hesitated. "Sir, your hand is bleeding." He looked down. Glass had cut into his palm. He hadn't felt it. "I said go." When she left, he stared at the blood sliding down his skin and whispered, "That's impossible." He hadn't spoken that name in 20 years. That night, he didn't sleep. He sat in his office, replaying the moment again and again. The ring. The scratch near the edge. The tiny dent where he'd hammered it flat with a rock. "No," he muttered. "It can't be her." He pressed the intercom. "Security?" "Yes, sir. I want the employment file for the new maid. Amara Cole. Full background. Tonight." "Yes, sir." He leaned back, jaw tight. "If this is a coincidence," he told the empty room, "it's a cruel one." But his memory would not quiet. He remembered hunger so sharp it made him dizzy. Remembered stealing bread and getting caught. Remembered her, small, fierce, splitting her portion in half. "You eat," she told him. "You think better when you eat. I'll pay you back." "You can't." "I will." Ow! He had taken a metal token from a broken game machine, bent it against a pipe, and pushed it onto her finger. "Like this," he'd said. "I'll marry you." She had laughed, then cried, then hugged him. He stood up suddenly now, pacing. "I buried that life," he said out loud. "I buried all of it." A knock. "Enter." His chief of staff stepped in with a folder. "You asked for this urgently." Victor took it and flipped it open. No parents listed. Multiple temporary shelters. Transferred from one care home to another. Left system at 16. No criminal record. No higher education. Employment gaps explained by medical caregiving. He swallowed hard. "Photo from intake?" he asked. "Last page." He turned it. Older. Tired. But the eyes. "It's her," he whispered. "You know her?" the chief of staff asked. Victor closed the folder slowly. "No." "Yes." "I don't know." "Sir." "Leave me." When the door shut, he pressed his fingers to his eyes. I promised, he breathed. The next morning, he went to the staff corridor himself, something he had never done. Workers straightened in panic as he passed. Amara was pushing a linen cart. She stopped cold when she saw him. "Sir, walk with me," he said. Her knuckles tightened on the handle. "Am I in trouble?" "Yes," he said automatically, then shook his head. "No, I don't know." They walked in silence. Finally, she said, "If this is about the glass, I can repay." "Stop apologizing," he snapped, then softened. "Just stop." She looked confused. "Okay." He struggled for words. A man who negotiated billion-dollar deals, unable to form a simple sentence. "Do you remember," he asked carefully, "where you got that ring?" "I told you." "A boy." "What boy?" "One who was hungry all the time," she said with a faint smile. "And stubborn. And proud." His throat tightened. "What happened to him?" "I lost him," she said simply. "Life does that." He almost said, "I'm right here." Instead he asked, "Why keep it?" She touched it gently. "Because someone once promised I mattered." He turned away so she wouldn't see the hit land. "Sir," she asked quietly. He cleared his throat. "You're reassigned. Direct house staff. No more kitchen duty." Her eyes widened. "I didn't ask for special treatment." "You didn't," he said. "I did." "Why?" He almost answered with the truth. "Instead, because I can." She studied him like she was trying to solve a puzzle. And for the first time in years, Victor felt afraid of being recognized. Amara didn't trust sudden kindness. She trusted patterns, and powerful men did not change patterns overnight. The reassignment spread through the mansion like wildfire. "She must have done something," one maid whispered. "Or he did," another replied. Amara kept her eyes down and her answers short. But inside, her thoughts wouldn't rest. "Why does he look at me like he remembers me?" Victor watched the surveillance replay 3 times, not for security, but for her face. The small expressions, the way she tilted her head when thinking, the way she pressed her lips together when holding emotion back. Exactly the same. "You're losing control," he muttered to himself. "Get proof, not feelings." He drove that afternoon to the old district, the one he had funded redevelopment for, but never revisited. The orphan shelter had been replaced by a clinic, but an older woman still sat outside selling bottled drinks from cooler. He recognized her immediately. "You used to work intake," he said. She squinted at him. "People say that a lot. You kept the records when the system transferred." She laughed. "And you look like someone who never heard no." He crouched beside her. "Please." She studied him longer. Then her expression shifted. "You're the boy who used to fight over bread." His chest tightened. "Yes. Now you wear money like armor," she said. "I'm looking for a girl. Same year. Same shelter. Name Amara." The woman smiled slowly. "You already found her." His breath caught. "You know. She asked about you once," the woman said. "Years ago." "What did she say?" She said, "I hope he kept his promise to himself, even if he forgot me." Victor sat back like he'd been struck. "I didn't forget," he whispered. "I buried it." "Same thing to a child," the woman replied gently. Back at the mansion, tension had teeth. Amara entered the private library with tea service and found Victor arguing with a sharply dressed woman. "You cannot be serious," the woman said. "You're canceling the engagement dinner?" "Yes," Victor replied calmly. "Indefinitely. You don't postpone families like meetings." "I just did." The woman turned, eyes landing on Amara, measuring cold, precise. "And who is this?" "Staff," Victor said quickly. Amara set the tray down. "Tea, sir." The woman stepped closer to her. "Look at me." Amara did. Something hostile flashed there. "You've been moved up fast," the woman said. "Be careful. Elevators fall quicker than they rise." Victor's tone sharpened. "Enough." When the woman left, the room stayed tense. "Who is she?" Amara asked quietly. "No one you need to worry about. She looked like someone I should." He almost smiled. "You always were direct." She blinked. "Were." He cursed himself internally. "Careless." "I mean, you are," he corrected. She studied him again. "You talk to me like you knew me before I worked here." His pulse jumped. "Do I?" "Yes," she said softly. "Like you're checking if I still match a memory." Silence stretched. "Do I?" he asked back. "I don't know." she answered. That's what makes it strange. That night, the rival executive, the same woman, ordered a private audit of staff access logs. Power moved quietly when threatened. By morning, a rumor had been manufactured. Missing cufflinks. Missing cash envelope. Missing Maid with sudden promotion. Amara was called into the security office. She stood straight. I didn't steal anything. Then you won't mind a room search, the guard said. Do it. They did. Nothing. But planted evidence doesn't need truth. It needs timing. The envelope was found behind her mattress. She stared at it like it was a snake. I've never seen that before. Everyone says that. Victor arrived mid-accusation. What is this? He demanded. Recovered stolen property, the executive woman said smoothly. From your promoted maid. Victor looked at Amara. She met his gaze without flinching. I didn't take it. He believed her instantly, and that terrified him more than doubt would have. Leave, he told the guards. Sir, procedure. I said leave. When they exited, the executive woman folded her arms. You're emotionally compromised. I'm decisive. You're blinded. He stepped closer. Careful. By a maid, she said quietly. That will make headlines. Get out. When she left, the silence between him and Amara was fragile. You don't have to defend me because you feel sorry, she said. I don't feel sorry. Then why? Because I promised to marry you behind a broken wall when we were 10 and starving. Instead, he said, because truth matters. She gave a sad half-smile. Truth rarely outranks power. It does with me. Then you're rare. He stepped closer. Look at me. She did. Did you keep the ring all these years? He asked softly. For the boy? Or for the promise? Her eyes glistened. They were the same thing. His composure cracked for a heartbeat. I need to show you something, he said. He drove her himself. No driver, no security convoy, to the rebuilt clinic grounds. She looked confused. Why are we here? Because this is where you changed my life. She froze. He walked to the old courtyard corner, the one piece left untouched, and knelt, brushing dust aside to reveal carved scratches in concrete. 2 crooked initials. Her breath broke. No, I carved that with a nail, he said quietly. You yelled at me because I ruined the nail. Tears filled her eyes. You cried when you bent the ring wrong. And you said it was perfect anyway. She stepped back, shaking. It can't be you. It is. Victor, she whispered, saying his childhood name like a ghost returning. Yes. She covered her mouth and cried. Not delicately, not quietly, but from somewhere buried deep. You disappeared, she sobbed. They said you got adopted and never asked about anyone. I searched, he said hoarsely. I just didn't know your new name. You became, she gestured helplessly, everything except the one thing I promised. She laughed through tears. You were supposed to come back with a bicycle, not an empire. I upgraded the plan. She stepped forward, then stopped. Reality re-entering. You're engaged, she said. Not anymore. Because of me? Because of truth. She shook her head. Truth is dangerous. So, is breaking promises. Wind moved through the empty yard. I kept the ring, she said softly, because it proved I wasn't invisible once. He answered just as softly. You were never invisible to me. Footsteps sounded behind them. The executive woman stood there, phone raised, recording. This, she said coolly, will destroy you both. If you have watched to this point, I want you to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Victor didn't even turn around at first. Put the phone down, he said calmly. The woman smiled. Confessions in abandoned courtyards with household staff. Investors will love it. Amara wiped her tears quickly, instinctively stepping back. Sir, it's okay. I don't want trouble for you. Victor turned then, eyes sharp enough to cut glass. You didn't cause this. To the board, optics cause everything, the woman replied. Emotional entanglement, preferential treatment, abuse of authority. You planted the evidence in her room, he said. She gave a small shrug. Prove it. I will. And until then, she lifted the phone slightly. I control the narrative. Amara's voice trembled. Why are you doing this? The woman looked at her like she was insignificant. Because proximity to power is a privilege you didn't earn. Victor stepped between them. Send that video and you're finished. She laughed softly. You're not the only one with leverage. Neither are you. They stood locked in silence for a long beat. Then she lowered the phone, not defeated, just calculating. Boards meet on Friday, she said. We'll see which story survives. She walked away. Amara exhaled shakily. I should resign. No. This will explode. Yes. I'm not worth the damage. His answer came without hesitation. You are to me. She stared at him, stunned, overwhelmed. You can't say things like that. I just did. Victor, the boy I knew, made promises with hope. You make them now with power. That's different. It isn't, he said quietly. It's the same promise, finally funded. Despite everything, she laughed through tears. You're impossible. And you still wear the ring. They returned in silence, but the mansion no longer felt the same. Eyes followed. Whispers multiplied. Power smelled scandal coming. By morning, the board demanded an emergency session. Victor entered the glass conference room alone. 12 directors. Cold faces. Printed screenshots already on the table. Still frames from the courtyard video. Is this employee under your personal protection? One asked. Yes. Are you romantically involved? He paused. Not from uncertainty, but from precision. I'm emotionally accountable. That's not an answer. It's the accurate one. Murmurs. The executive woman, seated near the end, watched with a thin smile. Another director leaned forward. We also received a theft report connected to this employee. Fabricated, Victor replied. Evidence was recovered. Planted. Can you prove that? Yes, he said, and slid a tablet onto the table. Security corridor footage. Timestamped. Your executive enters staff housing with a duplicate access card 20 minutes before the discovery. The room shifted. Heads turned. Her smile vanished. That's edited, she snapped. It's raw server pull, Victor said. Triple-backed. A director frowned at her. You accessed restricted quarters? No, Security logs confirm, Victor added. Biometric match. Silence fell heavy and final. You set this up? A board member asked her. She straightened. I protected the company from reputational risk. You created it, another replied. Victor's voice was ice. You're terminated effective now. Security entered within minutes. As she was escorted out, she looked at Amara, who stood in the hallway, having been called as witness, with burning hatred. This isn't over, she said quietly. Amara answered, voice shaking but steady. It is for me. When the doors closed, her knees almost gave out. Victor caught her. I've got you, he said. You always say that right before chaos, she whispered. He almost smiled. Pattern recognition. Days passed. The scandal turned, not into disgrace, but into a human interest storm. Billionaire defends Maid, falsely accused. Public sentiment swung hard. Offers came for interviews. He rejected them all. One evening, Amara stood in the garden packing a small bag. Victor walked up quietly. Planning a vacation without approval? She turned. Eyes red again. I'm leaving. No, you don't get to know that. I just did. I won't live as your protected story. You're not. I was invisible. Now I'm a headline. Stay, he said softly. What? He struggled, then chose naked truth. Because I loved you before I had anything, and I love you now when I have everything. And that feels like the only honest constant in my life. Her breath caught hard. Victor, I know it's unfair timing. I know power complicates it. I know you owe me nothing. Don't say that, she whispered. I owe you memories. Then let me earn the present. Tears slid down her face. You really came back. I told you I would. You were 10. I was serious. She laughed through tears. I know. That was the problem. He reached into his pocket and opened a small box. Not flashy, not oversized, elegant, simple. She shook her head instantly. No, don't replace it. I'm not, he said gently. Look, inside was a new ring, designed around the old scratch band, preserved as the center. I rebuilt it, he said. Not upgraded. Protected. She covered her mouth and cried again, the deep kind that empties years. You kept your promise, she whispered. Not yet, he answered. I'm asking if I still can. She stepped into him, forehead against his chest, voice trembling. Yes. Not loud, not dramatic, just true. Months later, at a small private ceremony, she wore both rings, the bent metal inside the new gold frame. When the officiant asked how it began, Victor answered himself, with a broken coin, a hungry day, and a promise no one thought counted. Amara squeezed his hand. It counted to me, and it still does, he said. The staff who once whispered now stood proudly invited. No one invisible, no one small. And when he went silent this time, it wasn't from shock. It was from gratitude.